Welcome back, guys, to your hopium-free crypto and economic cycle channel. In this video, we're going to look at investor mistakes, primarily using the cryptocurrency market, as we do tend to see a lot of mistakes being made here, a lot of opportunity costs lost by investing in cryptos, which are on the way down, although we do believe that they're going to come back at some point. So that's what we'll look at and use data, use the charts, use the facts that are there for us, as we can see from history what has gone wrong. And I'm specifically using this from history of my own portfolios, looking back at 2017 and 2018 for some examples so that we can avoid these mistakes in the future. So make sure you've smashed that like button if you haven't already. It does go a long way to helping out the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. A bell notification icon is down there as well. Get these notifications to your mobile phones. And this question also comes from Patreon. So over at our Patreon group here, TIA Lite, these are our members' questions. We're looking at how to pick those strong horses, how to get away from the weak stuff, the stuff that is going down. And these are the opportunities that we want to be buying up crypto as the market is falling. I know a lot of people get scared. Their portfolios might be down 40 or 50%, but we have to suck it up as investors, not get too emotionally attached, and then get into the right positions when the market is at its low points so that we can sell out on the way up. So I'm going to use some cryptos from my history. I've made this mistake many, many times. There's a few of them. And so hopefully you can walk away with some practical applications for your own portfolios. So as I said, this question comes from our members, and you can find a link to everything in the video description. I'll make mention of that again. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, just use those links, the official links, because so many people are getting scammed out there, and I get messages from people getting cut that they got ripped off by scammers. Use the official links. Don't talk to anyone else, or don't send people money. All right. I know that's the majority of people aren't getting worked up about it, but there is the odd few. So this question comes from our members. How do you know which is a strong horse, which is a weak horse when it comes to investing? Just because a cryptocurrency is not a buy right now doesn't mean that the project or the crypto project is fundamentally bad. This is something that happens with amateurs. Just because I might not like something that I don't want to buy it because it's not the right time to buy for my particular trading strategy, they get cut, triggered, upset that you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to that project. Now, if you're just only fundamentally based and you never look at a chart, I wish you all the best, but please learn to read a chart so that you can know when the markets are falling, when they're rising. You can see the trends and you can start to pick a better opportunity for a lower price. The other thing is focus should be on reading the price charts, the price trend on the chart of the cryptocurrency. So that's pretty much what I said in that first part. Some people are only fundamentally based. Learn to read a chart. It'll help a hell of a lot. So as for the mistakes, I have the 5 mistakes here, and we'll go through them on the charts as well. Not understanding where we are in the cycle. I'll show you where you can find that information. Watching and listening to what people, new amateurs, want to hear rather than what's good for them. Now, I'm not suggesting that I'm the only thing that's good out there in terms of the information. I do appreciate your comments down there as well when you say that there is some great information, but there is a lot of good information out there as well. It's just a matter of finding that. Number 3, buying all the dips of weak cryptocurrencies. Could be weak in the short term and or in the long term. Number 4, not using the Bitcoin pair and the ETH pair on the charts. I tend to use the GAN 50% level as well, and that might take a little bit of skill to learn, but it's not too difficult to figure out. There are other techniques that I use, and that's in the TIA Premium. Links are down below. And finally, using too short of a time frame. So looking at stuff that's on a 15-minute chart, an hourly chart, possibly even a daily chart when our perspective or our view of our investment portfolio, we say, is much longer. A lot of people say, if I buy and hold this thing for 5 years, can I do that? And then they start looking at an hourly chart. So these are the sort of things that we're going to look at here on the charts and give the examples how you can walk away with it and use it from this video. Now, for the first thing, we want to understand where we are in the cycle. So here are a couple of simple things that we can use. Wall Street cheat sheet. Hopefully you guys have seen this before. People use it in stocks, use it in real estate markets, use it in cryptocurrency markets. The purpose here is to get an understanding of the market sentiment. So we can go through from the lows and the first breakouts, which we specifically love to use here on the channel when it comes to trading on momentum. So this section of the chart in particular, so starting from the left, hope, disbelief, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. You know we get to that point a lot of the time in cryptos. complacency, which is basically what Gann called a lower high, a lower swing top, and then the market crashes through the support levels. Anxiety kicks in, denial, panic, capitulation, which potentially, if you're watching this in January of 2022, maybe we're seeing that in crypto and Bitcoin at the moment. Then we get into the anger. The market goes sideways for a bit, getting into that accumulation, as Wyckoff would call it. And then we get into a depression. Market's not doing anything, and then the disbelief starts again. So we go through the cycle all over again. So understanding where we are in this particular cycle. The next thing is the fear and greed plan, or the fear and greed index, I should say. And this is a good one to have a look at, because if we start to relate the fear to some of the lows in the market, then we can really put into perspective where we sit. So it's kind of like using maybe a relative strength index as well. If we look at these areas, so we're going through here June, May, July, for Bitcoin in 2021, you can see that this fear was the absolute lowest point that it was, from the numbers of 10 up to about 20 or 30. And if we go over to Bitcoin, we can see May, June, July. That's obviously one of the better times to be buying if you had entered the market in 2021. Now let's look at where we currently are. We're back at 10 to 20 on the index. And for Bitcoin, we're back down at the high 30,000s to the 40,000s. So potentially, this is another good time. Now, it's not going to give you the exact bottom every single time. I think some people might believe that, but that's not the case at all. But it's going to give you better opportunities to buy rather than when the market is peaking, as we saw in the Wall Street cheat sheet, when the euphoria and the thrill is on, when most people tend to get into the markets. So if you start to piece these tools together, you'll start to get a better idea of where these lows are coming into the market. And if you're using Gann analysis and some Wyckoff analysis, that'll give you a much better idea to avoid the mistakes of not understanding where we are in the cycle. So number 2 is watching and listening to what it is that we want to hear, not what is actually happening out there. So that's why we always go back to the chart as well, because that gives us the data and the facts of what people are buying at what prices and what they're seeing in the market. And what I mean by this is we can pick on, I don't mean to pick on, but let's use one of the best channels out there, one of the best YouTube channels, and that is Coin Bureau, okay? So we got Coin Bureau here. You have to mix a lot of this information, this content that is being produced, with the market sentiment. So if the market sentiment for particular cryptos is very hot, it's possible that we are in belief, thrill, euphoria. So there is still some money to be made in the market, but you're not going to get those massive returns that you see from purchasing at the lows, like the disbelief section, the anger section, maybe even the capitulation. You just have to wait a lot longer. So what I'm using here is what we want to hear. Gala Games, as an example, okay? December 19th. Now, as I said, this isn't always an exact science, but it does help a lot. So let's look at December 19th, go to Gala Games, and this is the period right here. You can see that my cursor's on the 19th. Now from that video, it did move up a little bit, but I assume most people aren't in crypto for these sorts of gains, going from 46 cents to 54 cents, you know, 20%. Now the market is down about 30% from that video. And that's nothing to do with the good content that might be in a fundamental video of someone like Coin Bureau, but it does tell us that at these times when the videos come out, because this is part of the YouTube game, is to get people to click on videos. You need to be making the content when more people are searching for it. Unfortunately, more people are searching for things at the wrong times. So they were probably searching for it back here when Gala Games took off in early December. It took a few days to do the research, produce the video, edit the video, get the video out, and that's why we got it out on around the 19th. And then the market has another little bit of a push. It's a very big channel, nearly 2 million followers. And then, of course, it wasn't ready yet. And so what we could see from the chart is the market was heading down. So number 2, as I've got here, is watching and listening to what we want to hear. We want to hear the good stuff. We want to hear what's going on with Gala Games because the market is moving. It was pumping. Why didn't we get into this? Instead of reading the chart and having a look at what's going on with the price here. So we can see that the market dropped to our 50% level, bounced, weak bounce, weak close on the 12th. So I got the date written here, and we fell into the 50% again. Another weak bounce. So we had an opportunity to potentially get out of a position as we see the market fall back again to the 50%. It goes sideways and then eventually crashes through the 50% and the support on the 4th, which was a big day, and the previous low on the 20th. And so we've got a pretty strong downtrend. And then we've got to look to some further downside for Gala Games, potentially at this section. As you can see, there was some support and resistance back in November, and then all the way back down through this period of September and October, somewhere down in this section. It does take time to play out. And I often see people with comments saying, you said it would do X. It takes time. This top was in November. We're only in January now, so not even 2 months from this top, but it's already down about 60 or so %. So things take time, and you will see pumps in between that to bring people back into the market so that it becomes liquidity for people to sell out into. You get these pumps and the market moves down again. Number 3 is buying all of the dips of the weak cryptos, weak short-term and or long-term. So something that we can use here is, say, Litecoin. And earlier in 2021, I thought Litecoin definitely had the possibility to push back to new all-time highs and give us some big returns because there was a lot of interest around Litecoin at that point in time. Now you can notice that I'm using Litecoin USD chart, and we need to look back at our BTC and ETH pairs as well. So going back to point 3, the weak cryptos. This one is a weak crypto. Let's look at the BTC chart, and we can see for the history of something like Litecoin, it's been down for the entire history against Bitcoin value. Okay, so that just means that this market is extremely weak, and the pumps that we get through 2021 have not been anything substantial compared to the rest of the market. So we want to avoid buying the dips of weak cryptos. Once we can see that it's weak and the market is not giving us those signs that it wants to take off, breaking out of highs, breaking past resistance levels, then we need to suck it up as investors and get out of those positions. So that leads me over to number 4, not using the Bitcoin pair and the ETH pair now that ETH is so strong. Gain 50% level is also another really good one to use. So let's look at this and particular examples from my own portfolio. Unfortunately, it pains me to say it, but we're here on EOS. We've got EOS and the dollar. It's gone nowhere since its nice big pumps into mid 2018. Sideways, had a small pump in 2021. But what we can note from this is it's basically had a sideways trading range, which looks to be probably breaking down from here. Now, the number 4 is using the BTC pair. So as much as we want to believe that the crypto has a lot of stuff going on, or maybe it doesn't, but a lot of these cryptos tend to have something going on, but they're just not getting bought up. And if you want to make money from the market, definitely need to check this BTC pair. And you can see EOS BTC from mid 2018 is very similar to that Litecoin BTC. It's just been a massive, massive downtrend, and we don't want to be buying these cryptocurrencies that are in a major downtrend, especially against Bitcoin, because now we're even losing against Bitcoin. Bitcoin makes the smallest gains out of cryptocurrency. Of course, it makes huge gains compared to other asset classes. But if we're not getting those gains in our altcoins, then we're taking on huge risk to potentially get some gains which are not showing up. And we can see that in this chart. It's down, down, down. It might feel like a lot at the time when you get this small little bounce on the daily charts, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not big at all. So we need to stay away from cryptocurrencies by checking their BTC pair just to see how they're tracking against Bitcoin and Ethereum. The last one here I wanted to show is Icon. This was also one that I was looking at buying. Did some videos on it early in 2021, but I quickly got out of it as I could see the market was just not going anywhere. It just didn't have the legs in a bull market to push past its resistance of about here, 5,300 Satoshis. So if you can see this happening, you definitely want to get out of the market. So how can we use that in our portfolios now to find the strong and the weak cryptocurrencies? I'm going to go back to this point, number 4. Let's use the BTC. Let's use the ETH pairs. And then obviously the short to long term timeframes. Don't use something that's too short. We don't want to look at 15-minute or hourly charts or daily charts. We want to look at longer term charts. So that's what I'm going to look at here. We're on the daily. So let's move it to the weekly. And basically we can see that this looks like a pretty big downtrend at this point, especially on the weekly chart. You see a lot more red. We're coming out to 50% at the moment. This is on the US dollar chart. This is something that's difficult to say at the time because people get extremely offended by what's in their portfolios and just thought of not looking at the fundamentals. I'm looking at the chart, and that's the main thing that I want to focus on, because the chart tells me what's going on with investors at this point in time. The fundamentals to Solana could be fantastic, could be absolutely amazing. I'll continue to hold some, but just looking at this and then looking at the BTC chart, it starts to show me a picture which I have seen before. I've seen it in other cryptos. Let's say EOS. You can see these big spikes and the markets start to tank. I'm not saying they're anything alike, and I know there's always going to be a comment of someone saying you're comparing two completely different projects. Solana does X, EOS does Y, it doesn't do anything, whatever. The point is the chart is always going to tell us. Now, I could be wrong. This might not tank to these previous resistance and support levels, and I'll know that as we get to the 50% level, and potentially if we form a higher low. So at the moment we've got the low here that you can see on the chart, and then if we get a higher low and the market starts to climb again, great, we're out of the downtrend. But at the moment we've hit pretty heavy resistance on the BTC pair at around that 0.004, so around 400,000 Satoshis. You can see the market just doesn't want to close above it, and we've slowly started to slide away from that top. And that tends to be the pattern when we move into the, say, next stage of the Bitcoin bull market. Bitcoin will reaccumulate and then start to move its way higher. That's what's happened in the past. We'll know if it doesn't happen this time. So that's how we can be wrong and still be right. We just need to be aware of what's going on in the broader market. So looking at the BTC chart, it is on a downtrend. How we can be wrong is if this forms a higher low and then starts to break back above the resistance levels, the 50% and the resistance levels that you can see clearly. Pretty straightforward on the charts here. Before I jump into the next example, check out the links to SwiftX down below. For the Aussies that are looking to trade and stake their cryptocurrencies here in Australia with a company based out of Brisbane, SwiftX is your go-to. Link is down below, $10 of free Bitcoin when you sign up. And for internationals, if you want an exchange with no KYC, there's a link to Bybit down below. And they have huge sign-up bonuses as well, up to $4,000 when you follow the sign-up bonuses or sign-up links down below. That's for anyone that is looking to trade with a no KYC exchange. So the next example is Luna, and I've got Luna BTC chart, and I've got these two sections highlighted. You can see the higher low form. The market broke out to give us a new high, but we're pretty much getting back close to these levels. So although the market did break out, we're seeing the weakness form yet again, that lower high form, and the market fall away again from that particular point. Now, the risk to the downside is pretty much everything you can see below this level. It can be a very long way down in terms of a percentage. Currently, we're sitting at 0.000017. And if we look to these previous support levels, that's about 62%. The 50% zone is about 38, 39% away. So there is a lot that could be lost here. And the upside at this point with such a big move is probably limited. To get anything double, you're looking pretty far up the Satoshi chart at the moment. So back onto the weekly chart, the longer term view. And what I'm looking at here is the possibility of this falling. We want to see how it tests against 50%. And if Bitcoin then goes up, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the Satoshi value of this crypto and other altcoins as well, which have had a run in 2021, had a really strong run. So the thing we want to avoid, the mistake, is then holding into these cryptos and buying these cryptos on the dips when their BTC chart is potentially looking weak. Their US dollar charts could look strong. They could look very, very strong. Just like Solana here, this could continue to go up, and I think it might hit $500 or $600. But if the BTC chart starts to look weak, then I'm no better holding Solana than I am Bitcoin, because of course the US dollar chart of the cryptocurrency can go up if Bitcoin goes up as well. It could remain at this BTC level and Bitcoin triples from 40 grand to 120 grand, and that would then triple the price of Solana from 140 to $420. So it could still go up in the USD value, but not go anywhere on the BTC value. They're the 5 simple mistakes to avoid in a bear market when the market is down, looking to buy those dips, or potentially in a bull market. If we're seeing Bitcoin go up, but the crypto's not going up, the cryptos that we're holding are not going up against their Bitcoin or their ETH value. So definitely keep an eye on those charts. It's probably going to be the easiest thing that you can do to protect the profits in your portfolio. If you enjoy that, you know what to do. smash those numbers down below, likes, subscribe, bell notification icon. If you're interested, check out Patreon, link is down below, and also TIA Premium for the trading courses. Other video sponsors are down below. See you at the next video. Until then, have more fun to get more done.